Hello, everyone. You are tuning into Onward with Onrie Live. I'm your host, Onrie Kompan. Thanks for showing up today. I'm going to talk to you guys about something really important today. And it's something that we constantly have told to us, something that we always are encouraged to have, but don't always find it easy to come by. What I'm talking about is confidence. So first and foremost, I just want to say that I really appreciate everybody who tuned in last week for our first show. The response has been great. You guys have encouraged me to come back on here and talk with you about all kinds of wonderful stuff. So we're going to keep the focus on confidence today. So a couple things that have occurred to me, and the reason why I wanted to talk about this very important thing is that a lot of people always ask me, what's the secret to your sales? How do you manage to keep going to all these conventions and selling out of your books? And the way I've been managing it over the last 7 years is simply knowing that what I the goals that I set for myself are attainable. I set goals for myself that I know that I can attain, that I know I can complete, and I go out there and I just do the best that I can. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. Some battles are harder than others, but it's an uphill battle, and it's something that I chose to do. It's something I'm very passionate about. And the fact that I know what I'm doing and that I have experience actually is one of the things that gives me confidence, no matter what I'm doing, whether I'm at a signing or at a convention or making a public appearance on TV. It doesn't matter. I always know that I can depend on myself to perform and to do well. So, that's one of the major things that gives me the courage to go out and do all this stuff. And I made a couple notes that I just kind of was thinking about the other day, and in relation to confidence, because to me, someone who's confident is someone that you can tell when someone's confident. You can look at someone, you can know that's a confident person. You can also look at someone who acts confident but is actually just cocky. They're not confident. They're just putting on a front that can kind of throw you off, So one of the things I would say is, you never want to mistake confidence for cockiness or cockiness for confidence. Someone who's confident worries about others first because they have complete assurance in themselves, and that's true. Someone who's confident, the first thing they're going to be worried about is everybody around them because they are taking care of themselves, And let me just give you an example of that. So yesterday I was at Challengers Comics in Conversation downtown, one of the best shops in Chicago. This is the coolest store. You want to go there because the owners of the shop, Pat Brower and Dale Bush, have put together a wonderful community of, for comic book readers in the Chicagoland area. If you're looking for the hippest, coolest comics, that's where you want to go. You can now pick up Marks and Yisun Chun Fallen Avenger from them because they are stocking them. And you can also pick up a lot of work from Dan Doherty. He worked on a couple chapters of Marks for me. Well, anyway, let's get back to the point here. We're talking about confidence. So, I came into this store yesterday, and the one thing that I find different about signings as opposed to conventions is that when I do a convention, it's much easier for me to go up and approach people because I'm on an open floor and it's cool. I can talk to whoever I want. But when you're at a signing at a store, people usually want to come in, get their comics, and get out of the shop. They don't want to be pitched and solicited to all day. So that's something I always have to be very mindful of. But you see, my whole point is not to bombard people that I approach with buying my book. The most important thing is that I come up to those people and I portray my work in a way that invites them to either pick it up or not. And if they choose not to pick it up, it's totally cool, because it's all about the customer. And I'm always trying to be as considerate as I can to the people that I'm talking to, because if I don't care about who I'm making the sale to, then, I won't make the sale. I mean, there are people who I've seen at conventions who get upset about people rejecting their work or putting a lot of added pressure onto customers to buy something. People who are going to give you money for a product that you're selling to them are doing it because they want to support you and they want to support your work, no matter what it is that you're putting out there. And if you treat them well, well, then you get repeat business. And if you pressure them into buying something and they don't want it, then you're not going to have them come back as customers. And they may not like your product, but the point is that if you have confidence and you believe in yourself and you believe in that fact, it's a lot easier to go out there and do the impossible, because that's the one thing you're focused on. I was asked if politics in any way affected my sales approach or my sales performance. And to be honest with you, politics is the one thing I never allowed to interfere with my sales, because it's something that everybody's got their own beliefs. I have mine. I keep them private. I do it out of respect for my customers and, for the people that I work with and my family. I don't think it's necessary to do that, but that's my prerogative. I don't pass judgment on any of my customers, and I keep it very neutral on that front. So, and therefore it can't affect me when I go out and do a convention. When I go and do a convention, my focus is on one thing: getting as many copies of Yi Sun Shin into the hands of happy customers as possible. When you leave my table, you should always be feeling like you got a deal, because it's about you. It's not about me. And that's the difference. Someone who is confident worries about others first because they have complete assurance in themselves. A person who is cocky is only worried about himself and has something to prove. And it's funny because Dale and I were talking, and he talked about, Dale is the co-owner of Challengers, and he was telling me about how they had someone solicit comics to them. And in the solicitation it said, we couldn't get this made into a movie, so we decided to make it into a comic. And see how that discourages retailers from wanting to order your book, because you are only worried about the fact that your project couldn't get made into a movie, so now you're turning to comics. Now, because it failed as a movie, you're doing the comic thing. And that's supposed to get retailers excited. Why? This is something that, I wouldn't say it was cocky for them to do that. I just think that it was probably that their intention was probably different. But regardless, it's something you see quite often. People who think that they know what they're telling, think they know what they're saying. They have an answer for everything. But the truth is that they're just trying to look a certain way. Some people are going to try and intimidate you. Other people are going to just try and bully you. And when you have complete confidence in yourself, that can't happen, because you know how to shut the situation down. You know how to ignore them and how to move forward. And it happens to everybody. We all deal with this stuff. So it's not like it's not something that is just happening to you. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But a person who's cocky is only worried about himself and has something to prove. Now, a cocky person has an answer to every question and will not concede when wrong. A confident person is always learning and knows that he cannot know everything. And that's true. And I'll tell you guys, I don't know everything. I don't have the answers to everything about comics or about how you should sell comics. I personally believe that the best salespeople are the people that know themselves, know their product, and are passionate about getting it into the hands of their customers. That's it. I can't tell you how to put on your elevator pitch. That's up to you. But when you are committed, what I want to help people do is find those answers themselves. If you can figure out how to put yourself in a state of confidence, you're going to win every time. Like, that's why I'm wearing my e-shirt right now. I'm wearing it because this is what makes me feel confident, and you can laugh at me all you want about it, but that's what kind of gets me into the role of what I need to do, and you take that wherever you go. And if you fuck up, it's on your own terms. It's, you decide when you win or when you lose. Obviously you don't want to lie to people about anything, but if, for example, say you go to an event and you wanted to sell 100 books, but you only ended up selling 2 books, you sold 2 books. See how you can easily turn that into a win? It doesn't matter that you brought 100 books and you didn't sell them. What matters is you sold 2. So that, and even if you didn't sell anything, you made a connection with people, and that can lead to something better in the future. Every step you take towards advancing yourself, try to always look at the pros of every situation, even if you fall down, even if you mess up completely, because you can always dust yourself off and try again. You can always just get back out there and keep going. And the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. The more confident you're going to feel, right? And that's what we're talking about here. So, and the most important thing is every once in a while, it's important that you step outside yourself and look around and appreciate the things that you have accomplished, because we've all accomplished something. If you're listening to this live recording right now, you have achieved something. You know how to use technology enough to join this show, and I appreciate it. And, that means a lot. So, whatever it is that you have achieved, take some time, once a week or whenever you feel comfortable or whenever, you have a chance, and reflect on what you've achieved. I think that's a very important thing to do. And it's something I even have problems doing. So around Thanksgiving, I was in New York with my wife and my children, and I was going through a real slump. I mean, I was just not feeling right about anything. I felt like I had worked really hard throughout the year, and I had achieved all the goals that I set for myself, but I couldn't be happy with it because I wanted more. I want to make more money. I want to really give my family a really easy life. And it took me some time to realize that I couldn't outstretch my growth. I think that's when people start to get into that really dark mindset, when we start to look at something and say, I want this now. But you can't always have what you want now. You have to take steps in order to get to that point. And it took me time to do that. It's not something I can just remind myself and automatically think to myself, okay, I need to just turn that on. And we all go through these kinds of emotions of self-doubt and wondering whether or not we have what it takes to actually succeed. I'll be honest with you, I was actually wondering how much longer can I continue to do this if I don't make certain changes, if certain decisions don't pan out. If I made a bad strategy, that's the end of my business. That's the end of me. I'm gonna need to stop doing this and focus on other things. And what really pulled me out of it was talking with a few friends who are doing the same thing I'm doing, and just self-publishing and as a full-time gig and doing conventions. And right now is a really hard time of the year because there's no conventions. There are some here and there, but there's no big show that's going to be like a big moneymaker for you. And every vocation has its seasons. Like if you look at real estate, particularly where I live in Chicago, things kind of die down around the winter time. People start, putting up their properties in the beginning of spring, and summer's when everybody's looking, So, and I don't know enough about real estate to say that. It's just something I noticed from the area I live in. I mean, for every job, it's different. So, this is just something that you need to be mindful of. And when you find yourself in what I like to call these grace periods, you have more time to yourself. This is the time to think and to strategize and to work on things that you can't do when you're really busy, And it's also a time to reflect and be happy with the things that you achieve, because if you don't do that, how can you move forward? The other day, I was talking with Pat Brower, who's the other owner of Challengers Comics, and he said, why do we do this? Like, who cares about what we're doing, and why does it matter? And that's exactly how I was feeling. I mean, a couple weeks back. I mean, it was just a really tough time for me to, every time it came to promoting Yisun or Marks even, it was really hard for me to go out there and do it, because why do I matter? I mean, there's so much content out there. Every week there are comics coming out, graphic novels. Every week something bigger and better is coming out, right? And it feels like you're getting muted out when you're an independent creator, because you don't have that same kind of exposure that, say, the big dogs do. But the one thing that I did to kind of snap myself out of it is, earlier this year, I put together a fundraiser on behalf of some people from my local community who passed away very untimely, very tragically. And we donated to an organization called Direct Relief on their behalf. And it was all from money that my friend and my sales captain, Kevin Hines, and I earned at New York Comic Con. So normally the way it works is we pay ourselves a commission per show. And this for New York Comic Con, we just didn't pay our commission. We went and we donated $1,300 to Direct Relief. Now, $1,300 is not a lot of money. I mean, I looked around and then suddenly I see that someone, raised $22,000 for some other wonderful, cause. And everywhere you look, it's like more and more people are donating money and large sums of it to help other people. So what's $1,300? Why does it matter? Well, I don't know if it matters, but I did it, I tried it, and it's something I was very honored to do, and I would do it again. And the hope is that someone got something out of it. When you are thinking about that, suddenly you matter. And the thing is here's what matters as well, is that was money earned from selling Yisun Shen and Marks. That went to helping people. And Challengers as well has raised money on behalf of Alzheimer's disease. And, if the store didn't exist, then, the money that went to these causes would have never gotten there, right? So it does matter. You matter. So whatever it is that you're out there trying to pursue, obviously the first thing you need to focus on is yourself, getting yourself and your business and your strategy to a point where you feel confident you can meet the goals you set for yourself. And it's not always about making money overnight, because this is not an overnight thing. This is a marathon. It's not a race. And you're going through stuff and you're gonna experience all kinds of challenges along the way. But what matters is how you get back up and how you stay in the fight and how you keep moving forward. If things go to hell, how do you see it through? Because the moment that it's over is when you decide it's over. I went 6 years without paying myself a dime, and that was rough. There were points when I just was not sure I could do it. And eventually I just decided, now it's time for that to change. And fortunately, I figured out a way to do it so that there's money going into the business. I'm covering all my expenses for conventions, and I have something left over for myself. And it's not something I consider myself being in a very fortunate position that I was able to do this. I don't think everybody is in a similar situation to me. Everybody's situation is different, but there are people doing it. And looking to them was inspirational for me, because I realized, look, we're all going through the same shit together. Whatever you're feeling right now, self-doubt, whatever, it's a slow time of the year, or it's a busy time of the year for other people, depending on what industry you work in. You have to look around and say, look, as long as you're healthy and as long as you're alive, everything's good. You're going to be just fine. And, you got to make do with what you got. Flashback to 1 year ago, I did a signing at Challengers, Pat and Dale's store, on the day after Donald Trump was elected president. And, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, that was a very emotionally intense day for everybody. And here I am going to a comic shop to sell my book. And I told myself that morning, I woke up and I said, you know what, I'm not going to let that affect me. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to be the vessel for people to escape. They're going to come to me and they're going to buy Yisun Shen because they're looking for an outlet. They're looking for something to enjoy. They're looking to get away from the politics. They're looking to get away from all the arguing and all the worries and concerns that they have for the country. And I went out there and I had my best performance ever at a signing at Challengers. And, it was just very easy for me to put that aside, because I knew it was going to draw up a lot of negative and positive energy. And having all of that come together at once is just a recipe for disaster, And my goal is to unite my customers, not to keep everybody apart from each other, and not wanting to be a part of the Yi movement, joining the fight, onward to victory. So those are the kinds of things that I do personally in order to keep myself in a state of confidence. Feel free to hit me up. Let me know what you do to keep yourself in a state of confidence, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Next week, I'm thinking about talking about New Year's resolutions. That's always something that we start getting into towards the end of the year. thinking about how we're gonna start the new year off on the right foot. And I am all about setting New Year's resolutions, setting higher goals for myself, trying to push myself to a new limit, never staying in a comfort zone, always moving forward. And I want to talk to you about how I can help you guys get to that point. So if you have any questions, hit me up on Facebook directly. You can also email me at olkompan@gmail.com. That's olkompan@gmail.com. I'll just put it right here in the comments. And we'll see you guys next week. And if you are Jewish like me, Hanukkah's over, so happy belated Hanukkah. If you're Christian, you're waiting for Christmas, Merry Christmas to you. And if you're anything else, well, happy whatever it is to you. So thank you again. Thanks for joining. Onward to victory.